The dust on this forgotten world was the color of dried blood, and it got everywhere. Cullen swore as a fine, rusty powder settled on the neck seal of his environment suit, his boots kicking up small clouds of it as he trudged towards the jagged silhouette of the ruins. They called this place the Scab, a fitting name for a planet that seemed to be one giant. Healing wound. He was here for a simple job: retrieve a data core from a pre-collapse research outpost, get paid, and move on to the next anonymous system. It was the kind of work he was good at: solitary, straightforward, and requiring no conversation beyond a status report. The entrance to the outpost was a yawning maw of twisted metal, half buried in the side of a crimson mesa. His scanner chirped, mapping the interior. The air inside was still and cold, smelling of ozone and ancient decay. He moved with a practiced silence, his eyes, accustomed to shadows, picking out the ghostly outlines of old labs and living quarters. His target was in the central server room. According to the contract schematics, he found the room. The door frozen partway open. Inside, the data core hummed within its protective casing, a single, persistent green light blinking in the gloom. As he set to work on the extraction, a strange sensation prickled at the back of his neck. It wasn't a sound, more a shift in the quality of the silence. He paused, his hand drifting to the pulse pistol at his hip. "You are Cullen." The voice was like water over smooth stones, calm and clear, and it came from the deepest shadows beneath a collapsed bank of servers. He spun, weapon drawn, his heart hammering against his ribs. A figure emerged, not with a threat, but with a slow, deliberate grace that seemed utterly out of place in the grimy ruin. She was tall and slender, dressed in simple, gray robes that clung to her form. Her skin was pale, almost luminous in the dim light, and her hair was a cascade of pure white, stark against the darkness. But it was her eyes that held him. They were a color he had never seen, a shifting, liquid silver that seemed to see right through his helmet, through his suit, and into the very core of him. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice a low growl through his suit's vocator. "How do you know my name?" "My name is Serial," she said, stepping fully into the light. She held no weapon, her hands open at her sides. "And I know your name, because I have been waiting for you." Cullen let out a short, harsh laugh. "Waiting for me? Lady, you have the wrong relic hunter. My contract is for the core, not for company." "It is not the core I seek," she replied, her gaze unwavering. "It is you." She took another step closer, and he noticed the air around her seemed to shimmer, the dust motes dancing as if avoiding her presence. "For cycles, my people have searched. We have looked into the echoes of futures yet to be, into the hearts of those who walk the stars. And in all the chaos, in all the violence, your name emerged, not as a conqueror, but as a fulcrum." He kept the pistol leveled. "You're talking in riddles. Stay back." She ignored him, stopping just an arm's length away. Her silver eyes seemed to soften with an emotion he couldn't name. Pity, hope. It made his skin crawl. "You were a warrior," she said, not as an accusation, but a statement of fact, a legendary mercenary. "You have known nothing but conflict. You have been its instrument and its victim. And that is why you are the only one who can understand." "Understand what?" He snapped, the old anger always simmering just beneath the surface, beginning to boil. "Peace," she said, and the word hung in the air between them, fragile and impossible. "A great storm is coming, Cullen. A conflict that will burn across the galaxy, consuming everything in its path. My people, we are gardeners, not soldiers. We cannot fight the storm. We can only hope to divert it." He stared at her, his mind reeling. This was insanity. A cultist, a mystic, a lunatic. He had met them all, but none had looked at him with such terrifying certainty. "And what does that have to do with me?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Everything," Serial said, and now she did reach out, not to touch him, but to gesture towards the data core he had come to steal. "That core does not contain research data. It contains a beacon, my beacon. I activated it when I felt your ship enter the atmosphere. I felt your resonance." She took a final, breath-stealing step forward, her silver eyes locking with his. "They call you the Reaper in a dozen systems. They sing songs of the battles you have won and the blood you have spilled. But I emerged from the shadows beneath your ship's flight path to find you, Cullen. Because the songs my people sing. They claim you are our destiny. Her voice dropped, imbued with a fervent, unshakable faith. They claim you are my peace. The pulse pistol felt suddenly heavy in his hand. The job, the pay, the simple, brutal logic of his existence, it all crumbled in the face of this woman and her impossible words. He was a weapon, honed and scarred by war. Peace was a concept for fools and the dead. And yet, as he looked into her eyes, he saw no deception, only a profound and terrifying truth. He had come to the scab for a paycheck. He was leaving with a prophecy he wanted no part of, and a woman who looked at a killer and saw a savior. Slowly, against every instinct screaming at him to run, he lowered his weapon. The silence in the cockpit of his ship, the Wayfarer, was heavier than any Kellen had ever known. It was a physical pressure, broken only by the low hum of the life support systems and the soft rustle of Serial's robes. As she shifted in the co-pilot's seat, he had stowed the data core, his payment now feeling like stolen goods. He'd left the scab behind, the red planet shrinking to a speck in the star-dusted blackness. But he couldn't outrun the woman beside him, or her words. He input a random set of coordinates, a jump to a neutral way station, just to be moving, to be doing something that made sense. His hands, usually so steady on the controls, felt clumsy. "You don't believe me," Serial said. It wasn't an accusation. It was a simple observation, as if she were noting the color of the control panel. "What I believe," Cullen said, his voice tight, "is that I just abandoned a contracted job, potentially burning a bridge with a paying client, because a stranger spouted poetry at me in a ruin. Fulcrum, peace," he shot her a glance. "They're just words. They are until they are made real," she replied, her silver eyes taking in the cramped, utilitarian interior of his ship. It was a place of function, not comfort. Weapon racks, tactical displays, scars from past fights. It was a mirror of the life he had led. "Your ship, it has known much violence. It's a tool. Like I am." He engaged the autopilot and swiveled his chair to face her. "Enough riddles. Who are your people? Where are we going? And what, in the name of the void, do you need a mercenary for if you're so peaceful?" Serial folded her hands in her lap, a picture of serenity amidst the chaos of his life. "My people are the Vesperi. We live on a world hidden from the main galactic lanes, a sanctuary we call solace. We have cultivated not weapons, but ways of healing, of understanding the connections between all living things. The storm I spoke of, it is the ascendant hegemony. They are a military faction, consuming systems, converting worlds into forge planets. Their path of expansion will soon find solace. When it does, they will not see a culture to preserve. They will see resources to exploit and a people too weak to defend themselves." Cullen felt a familiar coldness settle in his gut. He knew of the hegemony. Their reputation for ruthless efficiency was legendary. "If they find you, they'll grind your world to dust and sell the pieces." "Yes," Serial said, and for the first time, he saw a flicker of deep, ancient sorrow in her eyes. "But they will not find us through conventional means. Our world is shielded, hidden by natural phenomena and our own arts. They will find us through resonance, the same resonance that led me to you." She leaned forward slightly. "The hegemony's war machines, their command structure, it is all built on a specific frequency of aggression, a psychic footprint of conflict. It is a song they cannot help but broadcast. Our shielding is designed to deflect it, to make us invisible to that song. But over time, their song has grown louder, more dissonant. It is creating cracks. Soon, it will shatter our peace entirely. And I'm supposed to plug the cracks?" Cullen laughed, a hollow, ugly sound. "With what? My winning personality?" "No," she said, her gaze intense. "With your silence." He stared at her, baffled. "Your past, Cullen. The violence you have enacted and endured. It has left a mark on you, a resonance of its own. But it is not the same as theirs. You carry the echo, but you are not the source. You have walked away from it. That makes you unique. A void in the noise, a shadow in the firestorm. We believe you can be taught to project that silence, to create a shield within the hegemony's own resonant frequency. You wouldn't be fighting them. You would be calming them, making them forget why they came." The stillness is not passivity. Niam told him one day as they sat in a grove of singing trees. It is a different kind of strength, the strength of the deep root that holds fast against the storm. Days turned into a cycle. Cullen felt the layers of his old self beginning to slough away. The constant tension in his shoulders eased. The nightmares of past battles became less frequent. He began to see the world through Serial's eyes, not as a collection of threats and resources, but as a vast, interconnected web of life. It was during one of these sessions of deep meditation that the alarm came. Not a siren, but a shift in the very air. The harmonious song of solace faltered, replaced by a low, psychic drone that set Cullen's teeth on edge. It was a sound of pure, undiluted avarice and destruction. He opened his eyes. Serial was already standing, her face pale. "They are here," she said. High above, tearing through the beautiful nebula like a rusted knife, was a fleet of ships. They were angular, brutal, and gray, a stark blasphemy against the soft colors of solace. At their head was a massive, planetoid vessel, a war moon, its surface bristling with weapons. The Vesperi did not panic. They gathered in the central clearing, their faces turned upwards, not in fear, but in sad resignation. They began to hum, a low, unified tone that pushed back against the invading dissonance. It was a shield of sound, of spirit, but Cullen could feel it straining, thinning. "The resonance is too strong," Elder Niam said, her voice strained. "Valerius himself is leading them. His will is the engine of their song." On the main view screen that the Vesperi had projected in the air, a face appeared. Valerius. He had sharp, handsome features, but his eyes were cold, dead things, like chips of obsidian. His voice boomed, both through speakers and in their minds. "People of Solace, your hiding place is found. Your world is now an asset of the ascendant hegemony. Surrender your resources and your persons for processing. Resistance is illogical and will be met with absolute deletion." This was it. The storm had arrived. Cullen looked at Serial. Her silver eyes were wide, but she nodded at him. It was time. "What is your plan, relic hunter?" Valerius's voice sneered, having clearly scanned his ship's registration. "Will you die with these pacifists?" A fitting end for a deserter. Old instincts flared. The desire to fight, to shoot, to meet violence with greater violence. He felt his hands curl into fists. But then he felt Serial's hand on his back, a reminder. The stillness. He closed his eyes. He let go of the anger, the fear, the need to fight. He descended into that quiet place within himself, the place of his mother's lullaby and the singing trees. He found the core of silence that Serial had helped him uncover, and then he projected it. It was not a wave of energy, not a weapon. It was an absence. It was like a blanket of quiet falling over the valley, then spreading upwards. He directed it not at the ships, but at the people inside them. At Valerius. On the view screen, Valerius's smug expression faltered. He blinked, a flicker of confusion crossing his face. What is this?" "Maintain focus." Cullen poured everything he had into the stillness. He showed them not a threat, but a reflection. He showed them the beauty of the world they were about to destroy. He showed them the emptiness of their conquest, the hollow victory that awaited them. He made them feel the peace of solace, and in doing so, made them feel the profound lack of it in their own lives, through the connection. He felt it the moment of doubt in 1,000 soldiers' hearts, the moment a gunner looked at the pristine world below and remembered a field from his own childhood, the moment a pilot felt the unnatural strain in his own body from years of constant war. Valerius roared, his face contorted in rage. "It is a trick. Ignore it. All batteries, target the source of that signal. Target the valley." But the order was given with less conviction. A few scattered shots lanced down, but they were off target, hitting harmless stretches of mountain. The unified will of the fleet was broken. "You see," Cullen said, his voice a psychic whisper that reached Valerius alone. "This is what you are destroying. This is what you have lost. There's nothing for you here but a reminder of your own sorrow." With a scream of pure, impotent fury, Valerius's image flickered and vanished. The war moon and its attendant fleet began to pull back, disengaging from the nebula. The dissonant song faded, replaced once more by the gentle, healing harmony of solace. Cullen opened his eyes, staggering slightly from the effort. Serial was there to steady him. All around them, The Vesperi were looking at him with expressions of awe and profound gratitude. He had not fired a single shot. He had won a battle without a battle, and he had never felt more powerful in his entire life. The war moon was gone, but Valerius was not. A single, sleek command shuttle broke from the retreating fleet and streaked down towards the valley, landing with a violent thrust of engines that scorched the beautiful grass. The Vesperi stirred nervously, but Cullen raised a hand. "Let him come," he said, his voice calm. The stillness was still with him, a pool of tranquility in his heart. The shuttle door hissed open. Valerius emerged, clad in dark, ornate battle armor. He held a powerful energy rifle, his knuckles white around the grip. His face was a mask of twisted rage, his dead eyes burning with a need for vengeance. "You," he spat, leveling the rifle at Cullen. "You pathetic worm. You didn't defeat me. You confused my men with your feelings." He said the word like a curse. "I showed them the truth," Cullen replied, walking forward slowly, placing himself between Valerius and the Vesperi. Serial moved to follow, but he gave a slight shake of his head. This was his to finish. "The truth is power," Valerius screamed. "The truth is that the strong take what they want. I will have this world, even if I have to burn it myself." "Then you will have nothing but ashes," Cullen said, stopping a dozen paces from him. "And the memory of the beauty you destroyed will haunt you until your last, lonely breath. Is that the victory you want? Is that the song you wanted to sing?" "I don't sing," Valerius roared and fired. The energy bolt seared through the air. Cullen didn't flinch. He didn't dive for cover. He simply held up his hand, palm outward. He pushed with the stillness, not as a shield, but as a filter. The violent energy of the blast hit the field of tranquility and unraveled. It dissipated into harmless motes of light that floated away on the breeze. Valerius stared, his jaw slack. "Impossible. You are so loud," Cullen said, his voice gentle, almost pitying. "Your pain, your anger, it screams so loudly you can't hear anything else. You can't hear the world. You can't hear your own heart. You are the one who is lost." He took another step forward. "I was like you once. I thought the only answer to violence was greater violence. I was wrong. The true answer is to refuse to play the game. Stay back." Valerius fired again and again and again. Each blast met the same fate, dissolving into nothingness before it could reach Cullen. With each failed shot, Valerius's rage turned to desperation, and then to a terrified confusion. Cullen walked until he was standing directly before the trembling warlord. He looked into those dead, obsidian eyes and saw the scared child hiding within the monster. "It's over, Valerius," Cullen said softly. "You have already lost. Your fleet is gone. Your purpose is empty. The war is over." He reached out, not to strike, but to lay his hand on the barrel of the rifle. At his touch, the weapon powered down with a soft sigh. Valerius stared at him. His weapon now useless, his ideology shattered. The great conqueror, faced with an enemy he could not fight, simply broke. He fell to his knees, tears of frustration and shame cutting tracks through the grime on his face. Cullen looked down at him, not with triumph, but with compassion. This was the final lesson of the stillness. Victory was not in the defeat of an enemy, but in their transformation. It was in offering a hand, even to one who had come to destroy you. He turned and walked back to Serial. The Vesperi were silent, watching the scene unfold with a sense of profound closure. "What will happen to him?" Serial asked. "He will be offered a choice," Elder Niam said, coming to stand beside them. "He can stay and learn the ways of peace, or he can leave and carry the memory of this silence with him. Either way, the hegemony song is broken. The storm has passed. As the twin moons rose once more, their light seemed brighter, the air sweeter. The Vesperi began to sing, a song of healing and gratitude, their voices weaving together into a tapestry of sound that embraced the entire world. Serial turned to Cullen, her silver eyes glowing with unshed tears of joy. She took his hands in hers. "You see," she whispered, "I was right. You were my peace. You are our peace." Cullen looked at her, at the community that had welcomed him, at the kneeling man who was his enemy no longer. For the first time, he felt not like a weapon or a tool or a relic. He felt like a man, whole and complete. "No," he said, pulling her close. "You were my peace, Serial. You showed me the way." And as their lips met in the moonlit gardens of serenity, Kellen knew his long road had finally led him home. He had emerged from the shadows of his past and found not a destiny of blood, but a destiny of light. Together they stood, the warrior and the emissary, guardians of a silence that had saved the world.